My dear students of the third secondary stage, welcome back to our episode for today. Today we are going to continue chapter 7, part 2, as we started it last time. Today we're going to have the rest of the information, the text, and the questions. Before that, let me please welcome Mrs. Amani with us today. Hello, Mrs. Amani.
Hello, Mrs. Caroline. How are you?
I'm fine.
Dear students, we're so happy to meet you again today. We're going, as Ms. Caroline said, we're going to discuss something related to chapter 7, part 2. So please get your textbooks and pencils to write down any information, and let's start.
Chapter 7, part 2. The text.
The next day, I received a visit from the chief of police in Stralsund.
He told me that the British ambassador had reported that an Englishman called Razendel had disappeared near the town of Zenda.
They had found his bags at a nearby train station, and a man called Mr. Featherly from Paris believed he was traveling with Madame de Mabon.
He asked if I knew the lady. Yes, I do, I replied. I believe she and her servants were guests of Duke Michael. I see, said the policeman.
Go back to Stralsund and tell the ambassador what you know. I'll look into this for you, I told him.
Return in 2 weeks and I'll tell you what I've found. I wanted to have at least 2 weeks without any more difficult questions. My game had almost been discovered. طبعا زي ما قلنا المرة اللي فاتت, this was an important part. The English ambassador, he decided and he found out إنه رودولف رازندل شخص كان المفروض إنجليزي وفقد, وده طبعا زي ما قلنا المرة اللي فاتت this was something very difficult, وابتدوا يدوروا عليه ويدوروا على مكانه. مجرد ما ابتدت تبقى فيه اسئله كتير حوالين رودولف كده, ابتدى رودولف موقفه يبقى حرج جدا, لانه هتبتدي الناس تسال على رودولف رازندل, الناس هتبتدي تعرف اللي حصل, وهنا هو طبعا في وقت ضيق جدا محتاج انه ينقذ الملك ويرجعه مكانه, فطبعا ما كانش محتاج اي قلق في الوقت ده, وبالتالي قال للامباسادور I'm going to manage this, واديني 2 weeks اللي هو كان بيعتبر ان دول المده اللي هو هيقدر يخلص فيها الكينج, وما كانش محتاج يكون في الفتره دي في اي قلق او في اي شوشره ناحيه الملك ولا رودولف علشان يقدر يكمل الميشن بتاعته ready.
But with the policeman in town that day, there could be no more fighting around the castle, and Robert clearly felt safe enough to ride out on his horse. يبقى بدأ روبرت يشعر انه هيبقى فيه امان شويه والدنيا هتهدى, لان بوجود البوليسمان في المكان في الفتره دي مش هيبقى فيه فايتنج, يبقى ممكن يدي نفسه وقت شويه ان هو to think of something to do.
When I saw him, I quickly caught up with him. He looked surprised to see me. How is my brother today? I asked him.
He's well, he replied. He hopes he'll be soon in Stralsund. Robert, you're young. Why are you doing this? If you let your prisoner go free, I can help you, I said to him. You don't have to work for my brother. بدأ يساوموا زي ما قلنا المرة اللي فاتت, بدأ يساوموا علشان يعملوا خطة بديلة, والناس الأشرار هيعملوا يقتلوا بعض وحاجات كده.
كل واحد بيشوف مصلحته, هو
طبعاً.
ممكن ياخد ريورد كبيرة, رودولف رازندل يكمل as a king, وبالتالي يخلص من بلاك مايكل ومن الكينج.
This is the war game, the war dirty game. Okay.
Now we are going to start some questions. Choose the correct answer. No one could hear Razendel's boat in the moat because A. There was a lot of noise coming from the mansion. The boat was too far to be heard. Razendel rode very quietly, or the night was stormy. زي ما قلنا المرة اللي فاتت, the night was so stormy, وبالتالي nobody could hear Razendel's boat in the moat.
The king in his room in the castle asked. الملك أثناء ما كان في غرفته في الكاسل بدأ يتساءل عن إيه؟ Why Michael didn't feed him? Why Michael didn't free him? Why Michael didn't help him? Or why Michael didn't kill him? وزي ما قلنا المرة اللي فاتت, أصعب حاجة بالنسبة للسجين إن هو يستنى الوقت to be killed. هتقتلني امتى؟ يعني خلصني يعني. So the answer will be why Michael didn't kill him.
Rassendyll spaced Max Half's body. He left in the boat, he threw into the water Max Half's body, or he asked Sap to pull up, or he burned. طبعا هو he asked Sap to pull up زي ما قلنا المرة اللي فاتت ان هو he found Max on the boat sleeping. وده كان الحل الوحيد ان هو he took his weapon and he killed Max Half. ما كانش في حل تاني غير ان يعمل كده، وجروا بالبوت لحد ما وصلوا للروب واتربطوا في الروب وقال لساب to pull it up from the river.
Sap pays for the man in the forest to come to the castle to take them. Shouted, called, waved or whistled. طبعا احنا عارفين هم دلوقتي داخلين بيتسحبوا بقى، مش ظاهرين قدام الناس، وكانت في النايت was stormy، يبقى مش عايزين دوشه. it was quiet so he can't shout. يبقى الحل الوحيد ان هو he whistled، يعني صفر لهم صفاره بسيطه
كانت الساين اللي ما بينهم
متفقين عليها.
The chief of the police asked Rassendyll if he had seen Max Half, or if he had seen Rupert, or if he had known Antoinette de Mauban, or if he fought with Michael. طبعا هو كان بيسأل على Antoinette de Mauban، وبالتالي the chief of the police asked Rassendyll if he had known Antoinette de Mauban.
Rassendyll told the chief of the police to arrest Michael, find Rupert, leave Ruritania, or go to Sturluso. He asked him to go to Sturluso and that he is going to search for this problem, for a solution for this problem.
He wanted to have what without any difficult questions. He wanted to have 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days, or 2 hours. وده لما طلب منه الامباسsador to know about this man who had disappeared, the Rudolf Rassendyll، وقال له please give me 2 weeks so that I can find what I do عشان ما يبقاش في قلق ولا في مشكلة.
Rassendyll offered that he could help Rupert if he killed Michael, helped Antoinette de Mauban, freed the king, or attacked the castle. ايه الشرط اللي راسندل عرضه علشان يبتدي يساعد روبرت and to give him that big sum of money he wanted to? He asked him to free the king because this was the most important for Rassendyll because he was so human.
Rupert was ready to help Rassendyll because he wanted to rescue the king, he wanted to help Antoinette de Mauban, he wanted to get a reward, or he was an honorable man. طبعا he was an honorable man أكيد مش مظبوطة، ولا he wanted to rescue the king، وطبعا he wanted to get a reward لأن دي كانت بالنسبة له هي أهم حاجة. هو كان محتاج إن هو ياخد حاجة لنفسه، مكافأة لنفسه. طبعا he was waiting for a reward، وإنه ينفع كمان رودolf Rassendyll to become the king forever. To keep the people of Stralsund happy, Rassendyll's messengers told them the king would soon be in Stralsund, or the king would free the prisoner, or the king would marry the princess, or the king would kill Michael. طبعا عشان يسعد الناس لأنه كانوا بيسألوا كتير على الموضوع ده، ليه كل ده وهو he didn't marry Princess Flavia. So he told them that the king is going to marry Princess Flavia just to keep the people pleased.
طبعا كانت دي أهم حاجة بالنسبة للpeople to feel happy that he's going to marry the princess. The doctor advised the duke to give the king the medicine, to send the king to hospital, to set the king free, or to poison the king. طبعا هو طلب منه to set the king free in order to save him because he's not that healthy.
Joanne was given a lot of money to free the king, or to help Antoinette de Mauban, or to set the king free, or to work as a spy. وعارفين ان جوان he was taken by Rudolf Rassendyll وقال له انت كده كده Black Michael most probably he's going to kill you if you continued in your way، وهو بيستخدمك بس عشان to do what his mission was on. واقنعه ان هو يقدر ياخد منه some information وانه يساعده في البلان بتاعته to save the king، وطلب منه ان هو to open the gate at 2 o'clock عشان يقدر يدخل بيها رودolf Rassendyll، وطلب من أنطوانيت دو موبان كمان ان هي to scream out in the middle of the night. فيبقى هو طلب منه to work as a spy.
If the servants don't know the king is the prisoner in the castle, they will obey Michael and serve him, discourage Juan, think Rassendyll is the king and obey him, or kill the prisoner. طبعا احنا عارفين دلوقتي servants لما عمرهم ما يتوقعوا ان الرجل السجين ده هو الريل كينج، هم مين اللي قدامهم الكينج؟ اللي قدامهم طبعا رادولف راسندل. فلما ياخدوا الاوردر منه هيصدقوا ان هو yes he is the real king and they should obey him, so they shouldn't know that he is the prisoner because they will think that Rasendel is the king and obey him.
Joanne will take 50,000 pieces of gold to free the king, or to free Antoinette de Mauban, or to kill Michael, or to open the front door of the mansion. لسه كنا بنتكلم انه one part of his plan, Rudolf Rasendel asked Joanne to open the door of the gate at 2 o'clock at night, so he wanted him to open the front door of the mansion.
As a kind of deception, the Turnham country house will be filled with music, will be demolished, will be cleaned, or will be rented. طبعا كلمة deception هنا معناها نوع من أنواع الخداع، يبقى هم هيعملوا خطة علشان يعملوا خداع الناس ما تعرفش إيه اللي بيحصل. طيب الكونتري هاوس هيحصل فيه إيه؟ يا ترى هيشغلوا فيه موسيقى كتير، ولا demolished هيهدم، ولا cleaned ينظف، أو rented يؤجر؟ طبعا الكوريكت أنسر عندي هيبقى will be filled with music علشان يحسوا إن هو في party و everything is okay.
If they do not return to Turnham the next day, Marshal Strackens would ask Michael to see the king, or make himself king, or set the king free, or marry Princess Flavia. ودي كان جزء من البلان اللي كان قايلها رودولف لو تفتكروا حتى لمارشال ستراكنز، وقال له if I didn't send you the messenger for 2 successive days يبقى في شوية حاجات انت تعملها، منهم ان انت تبقى Duke of Stralsund instead of Black Michael، وتعرف انه الكينج is killed، وبالتالي to make Princess Flavia to be the queen. وبالتالي كانت الحاجة الأساسية انه طلب منه، قال له اطلب من بلاك مايكل to see the king. لو he didn't get you see the king هتعرف انه the king was killed، وبعد كده هتعمل كل الاوردر اللي طلب منه رودولف رازندل to apply.
Now critical questions with answers. Why do you think the chief of the police was in Stralsund? الchief of police راح ستارلسو علشان يعمل ايه؟ What was the reason behind this? To tell the king that the British ambassador had reported that an Englishman called Rasendel had disappeared near the town of Zinda and his bags were at a nearby train station. زي ما قلنا قبل كده ان هو جه عشان يبلغوا ان في بلاغ او في خبر من البريتش امباسادور السفير البريطاني ان في واحد من الرعايا بتوعه اسمه رادولف راسندل مفقود، لكن الشنط بتاعته هي موجوده نير زندا، وطبعا دي هتبدا تخلق مشكله بالنسبه لرادولف راسندل.
What did Mr. Featherly tell the police about Rasendel? Mr. Featherly told the police that Rasendel was traveling with Madame de Mauban on the same train.
What did Rasendel tell the chief of the police about Antoinette de Mauban? ايه هي المعلومات اللي قالها له متعلقة بأنطوانيت de Mauban? He said that, or he told him that Antoinette de Mauban and her servants were guests of Duke Michael.
Why do you think Rasendel ordered the chief to return in 2 weeks? ده لما طلب منه يسأل على رودولف رازندل as one of the British people. He ordered him to go back to Stralsund and tell the ambassador what he knew and asked him to return in 2 weeks' time. And Rasendel, the king of course at that time, would tell him what he had found. In fact, Rudolf wanted 2 weeks without any more difficult questions.
How do you think Rasendel felt after the visit of the chief of the police? ايه احساس راسندل الداخلي بقى بعد ما الشيف of the police جه؟ طبعا هيبدا يفكر ان الموضوع قلق، وان الخطه اللي انا عاملها هتبتدي تتكشف، علشان كده هو اداله 2 weeks without any
with no questions.
So he felt worried الآن as his game has almost been discovered. But with the police in the town that day, there could be no more fighting around the castle.
What do you think Rasendel asked Rupert to do? He told Rupert that he was young, and if he let his prisoner, who is the real king طبعا, go free, Rasendel could help him as he didn't need to work for Michael. يعني هو كان بيستغل روبرت من الاخر، بما ان روبرت مش عايز يبقى راجل مساعد لبلاك مايكل، ورودولف استشف ده من طريقته. طبعا هو بيلعب في الوقت ده على الناس اللي ممكن تخون بلاك مايكل او to deceive him at that time، وعشان كده قال له انت كده كده you don't want to work for black مايكل، وهو he made you angry، فخليك معايا I'm going to reward you، وهتصرف وانا كده كده انت لو بلاك مايكل كملت معاه he's going to kill you at the end. وكانه كان بيستغل طبعا the weakness of Rupert.
Why do you think Rupert had no principles اللي هي مبادئ and a bloody man؟ يعني ليه احنا بنعتقد ان روبرت ده ما عندوش اي نوع من انواع المبادئ ورجل قاتل؟ طبعا هو عمل، يعني هو خان ديوك مايكل واتفق مع رادولف راسندل ان هم يعملوا البلان، وكان مستني الريورد بتاعته او المكافأة اللي هو عايز a big sum of money. So he asked Rasindel to attack the castle bravely and kill Septon Fritz. دي نقطة. Rupert would kill Michael and the king and that would leave both of them alive. ده جزء من الخطة. Rasindel would be the king and he could have a reward.
Why do you think the relation between Michael and Rupert was not a very good one؟ ليه العلاقة ما بينهم ما كانتش كويسة جدا؟ طبعا Rupert said that Michael wasn't a good man. He made Rupert angry, so Rupert nearly killed him the night before. ده كان السبب اللي ساعد روبرت انه يتقبل جدا ان هو يساعد رودولف، وكمان ده السبب اللي خلى رودولف من جواه عنده استعداد ان هو يجند روبرت to his plan.
What do you think Rupert's reward would be؟ المكافأة بقى اللي المفروض روبرت ياخدها على خيانته لمايكل أو على مساعدته لرادولف راسندل هتكون إيه؟ He might ask to have Michael's position، المكانة بتاعت مايكل، أنا هاخد أنا دوره، and property in زندا. يبقى هو ممكن يطلب إن هو يبقى بدل ديوك مايكل في المكانة بتاعته، وفي نفس الوقت ممكن يطلب ممتلكات معينة يمتلكها in زندا.
Do you think Rasindel would agree to Rupert's wicked plan to be the king and why؟ Of course no. ليه؟ لأنه Rasindel was a very honest man and he was a man of principles.
Why do you think Rasindel was deep in thought؟ فكر تفكير متعمق when Sabt saw him. ايه اللي بيخلينا نفكر ان هو كان مندمج جدا في التفكير لما سابت شافه؟ يبقى because he might have been thinking about Rupert's plan، البلان اللي روبرت عرضها to take some money or to take a reward، بدأ يفكر فيها when Sabt saw him.
What do you think was the strange thing Rasindel noticed about Rupert؟ ايه الحاجة الخاصة جدا اللي لاحظها رودولف على روبرت؟ روبرت زي ما قلنا كان شخص شوية بيفكر شوية بعقلية جدا، ما كانش تابع قوي لبلاك مايكل، كان بيحاول يشوف الظروف شكلها ازاي. ف what did he think؟ ايه اللي لاحظه على روبرت؟ Rupert returned alone. He climbed down some hidden steps to the moat and he swam across. Then he climbed some steps opposite and disappeared back into the mansion. يبقى كان في خطة باقية تبع مايكل، ودي الجزء اللي كنا عارفينه اللي هو ليه علاقة بأنطوانيت دو موبان، وده كان بقية الخطة. فهنا حس ان روبرت بيتصرف بطريقة شوية فيها نوع من الخداع، وده اللي كان بيساعده اكتر ان هو يجنده لصالحه ان هو to help the king.
What did Rasindel feel after reading Antoinette's second message؟ المسج اللي قلنا قبل كده في سؤال هي كانت بتطلب منه ايه؟ to save her. حس ايه بعد المسج دي؟ He felt that he could do nothing to help either Madame de Mauban or the king. حس ان لا حول له ولا قوة ومش هيقدر يعمل اي حاجة، ولا ان هو يساعد أنطوانيت دو موبان ولا ان هو يساعد the king.
What do you think Rasindel could do to keep the people in Strahl so happy? Of course, we spoke about that before. So Rasindel was ready to send a messenger to tell them that he and Princess Flavia had arranged a date for their wedding.
How did the people in Stralsund receive the news of the wedding or the marriage؟ طبعا تلقائيا كانوا very happy. يبقى هنقول they received it with great joy and they were very happy.
Why do you think Michael was furious to hear about the wedding news؟ ليه بقى هو كان متضايق ديوك مايكل؟ طبعا ديوك مايكل first احنا we know that he wanted to marry Flavia, so he was very furious to hear about the wedding. وكأن رودولف رازندل is acting as a real king وبياخد كل صلاحيات and he's going to marry Princess Flavia وما كانش يقدر يمنعه.
Why do you think Michael asked for a doctor to examine the real king? إيه اللي خلاه يطلب doctor to see the real king? Because the king was seriously ill. The Duke wanted to keep him alive or Rasandel would be the king forever. طبعا مشكلة إن الكينج عندي لو حصل له أي حاجة خلاص رادولف راسندل هيبقى هو الكينج وخلاص كده كده هبقى أنا اللي خسران. يبقى من مصلحة ديوك مايكل إن هو to keep the king safe and healthy until he kills Radolf Rasandel.
What did the doctor advise the Duke after examining the real king? هو طبعا الدكتور لما شاف الريال كينج وحس ان هو قد ايه he was desperate, he advised him ان هو to let him free. He advised the doctor to set the king free at once. طبعا the Duke refused وبسبب ده he got the king in the place وكمان he got the doctor to be kept with the king.
Do you think that the Duke would let the doctor leave the castle? بعد ما الدكتور عرف الموضوع وعرف الخطة زي ما بنقول دخل عندهم بقى في وسطهم وكده عمره ما هيطلعوا. So I think that this will never happen. He will not let the doctor leave the castle because Michael decided that the doctor would have to stay with the king until he was better or died.
At least to keep the secret لأنه كده خلاص
Yes.
الدكتور can tell the secret to everybody. How far do you think Madame Antoinette de Mauban was kind? طيب was she kind or she wasn't? طيب let's see. In addition to helping Rasandel, she looked after the real king in the castle of Zenda. وده كان جزء بيبين قد ايه هي عندها بعض المشاعر الإنسانية عكس بلاك مايكل ان هي she looked after the king in the castle of Zenda.
Who were guarding the real king at all times? مين اللي كانوا حراسه بقى؟ هنقول ان هو عنده two of the remaining famous 6 men were guarding the real king at all times.
Why do you think Rasandel and Sap paid Juan well? يا ترى ليه دفعوا رازندل and ساب لجوان؟ طبعا because they wanted him to return to the castle and act as their spy وده كان الوسيلة الوحيدة اللي يقدروا بيها يعرفوا كل التحركات بتاعت بلاك مايكل والمكان اللي كان محتفظين بيه في الكينج وعدد الناس والافراد اللي كانوا guarding the king in the castle وكل التفاصيل اللي خاصة بالكاسل والديسكريبشن of the castle والموت كل ده ما كانوش يقدروا يعرفوه من غير جوان وكان لازم يضمنوا ان جوان يبقى تابع ليهم completely فكان علشان يخلوه spy they paid him a lot of money to keep him for their work وعشان يضمنوا انه كمان جوان ما يجيش في اي وقت ان هو يرجع تاني لبلاك مايكل او to confess anything about their mission.
How far do you think Juan's information was important to them? المعلومات اللي جوان ودفعوا له علشانها فلوس عشان يرجع تاني للبالاس كانت مهمة ازاي؟ طبعا it was very important علشان من غير وجود جوان ومن غير الانفورميشن دي ما كانوش هيقدروا يعرفوا اي حاجة زي ما مس كارولين قالت. So Juan told them where all the people stayed at night. كانوا موجودين فين كل people in the castle and the mansion and he told them who had the keys to the doors وطبعا دي كانت وسيلة من الوسائل المهمة اللي هتقدر تخليهم ينجحوا الخطة بتاعتهم. How could Rasandel benefit from the new servants at the castle? هيستفيد ازاي من وجود النيو سيرفنتس اللي موجودين في الكاسل؟ طبعا النيو سيرفنتس مش عارفين ان الكينج هو البريزنر يبقى اي حاجه رادولف راسندل هيقولها هيتخيلوا ان هو الريل كينج وهيبداوا to agree to and do whatever he wants to. So the new servants didn't know that the king was a prisoner. So if they saw Rasandel, they would think that he was the king and they would do what he asked. باختصار كده they would obey him.
Why was Juan asked to open the front door at 2 o'clock in the morning? ليه طلب منه ان هو يفتح الباب؟ احنا قلنا to help Sapt and his men enter and tie up the servants if they didn't want to help the king.
What role do you think that Antoinette de Mauban could play in Rasendel's plan? الخطة بتاعت راسندل يا ترى دور أنطوانيت دو مابان ممكن يكون إيه؟ On seeing Sapt getting into the castle, هي أول ما تشوف Sapt getting into the castle, she would cry out for help in order to get Michael out of his room. لما هيسمعها هيبتدي يخرج بره his room. Thus, وبالتالي Sapt could stop him and get the keys.
Why do you think the marshal's role was important in that plan? If they didn't return, he would march to the castle and ask to see the king at once. And number 2, if the king wasn't there, he would quickly take the princess back to the capital where she would become the queen.
Now it's time for your homework, and you have to choose the correct answer. Answer these questions, but read the text at the beginning. Rasandal and the others had to do something quickly because the king was weak and nervous, weak and irritable, weak and ill, or weak and afraid.
It was very strange that a king's brother and a pretend king space for the life of a sick king. A pretend king fear, celebrate, fight, or rejoice. You need to read again the text and make sure that you find the answer properly.
The night Rasandal chose to go to the castle walls. Quiet, pleasant, stormy, or clear.
Men went with Rasandal, Sapt, and Fritz to the castle. How many men? 7 men, 10 men, 8 and 15. سمعت الناس خلاص they started to answer quickly. Please read the text again and you're going to find the answer immediately.
Answer only 2 of the following questions. Do you think that Rupert was a fierce fighter? Can strong? How do you know? You have to think and answer the question.
Second question, why do you think Rasandal and his men were in deep sorrow while leaving the castle?
How do you know that Rasandal understood that Rupert had a plan for that night?
My dear students, with these sum of questions, we have come up to the end of our episode today. Hope that you have enjoyed it and you made a full vision of chapter 7, part 1 last time and part 2 this time. We gave you some questions to read and answer. Please read the text in full and then try to answer, and waiting for your response next time. Thank you and goodbye.
Dear students, hope that you got benefit today, enjoyed studying chapter 7. Please, as Miss Caroline said, read the chapter thoroughly and think well before choosing any answer. Waiting for you next time. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.